Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Antoine Aymer. I'm the Global CTO with Sogeti, focused on quality engineering and testing. And I'm here today with Chaitali.
Good afternoon, Antoine. Hello, everyone. I am Chaitali Lambat. I lead the generative AI GTM and data testing for Sogeti India. Now, technology has come a long way since its early days when the concept of machines creating content was more of a science fiction than reality. We are very excited to welcome you today to our webinar on generative AI Amplifier, where I, along with Antoine, will explore the journey of generative AI from its historical roots to its current applications. Over to you, Antoine.
All right, so let's go a little bit back in history. I like understanding how to build a future based on our roots, as you just shared, Chaitali. So if we go back to the 40s, 70s, at this time, testing was really focused on debugging. It was what I call the inspection era. And we actually captures this very famous quote, testing shows the presence, not the absence of bugs, which is now anomalies in modern world.
Right, and in the formalization era, that is after 1970s and early 2000s, testing began to formalize. It became a distinct discipline, well integrated into the SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. Standards such as IEEE, CMM, TMM established the structured processes, and the first wave of test automation tools began emerging. The goal was to ensure consistency, and as Boris Fraser puts in, the more you test software, the more immune it becomes to the tests.
And then in the next decades, the one that we've just, or the 2 decades that the one we just went through, this is where we truly saw agile and DevOps and an advanced automation era. And we truly see a transformation of software testing truly becoming what we call quality engineering and testing as a discipline where everybody must be in charge of quality, right? There's also a reflection based on automation testing, which you can see on the sentence here. If you automate a mess, you get an automated mess. A lot of different advancement in terms of innovation. And now here we are in the AI-driven quality era. And this is really where we are at a crossroad. We have to deal with intense delivery cycle time. Everything is time boxed with sprints. At the same time, we are dealing with increased technical complexity and the rate of changes. AI actually has been helping us for a while in software testing and quality engineering testing. It's been there actually to focus on very complex use cases. And now it's the place for a new kind of a type of AI, which is the models. In terms of future, the thing I think we could actually share about what quality engineering testing will become, I think as more a feedback engineering types of practices where we need to provide real-time feedback on risk, on quality, on non-quality issues. So it's a natural evolution, and I think AI will actually help us do it. One of the quotes that we got from one of our clients, which I think was actually worth sharing, it's amazing what you can do when you know what to ask for, and this is specifically true with generative AI.
Right. So how did it start? Basically, we started with experimenting, and 2023 was more about experimenting. We are quality leaders, and we publish the World Quality Report along with our strategic partner Micro Focus and now OpenText. So in the latest World Quality Report, we are witnessing a clear shift in how generative AI is revolutionizing software quality assurance. Well, the data on the screen speaks for itself, but what is important to note is that our quality leaders are already recognizing the potential that AI brings in, the AI's role in optimizing test scope and boost quality, to accelerate test design, and also the test results analysis and defect prediction. So do you also observe similar kind of data from CRI report, Antoine?
Yes, so we actually, Capgemini and Sogeti, we drew a huge report, a very comprehensive survey involving over 1,000 senior executives and software professionals. And it was really done this year, trying to understand what is the use they're making in GenAI applied to software engineering. Okay, so I would say 2024 is still a matter of experiment, but it's also a matter of trust, a matter of scale, and also a matter of cost. So we can say that generative AI adoptions from the report is very much still going through its early stages. By 2026, what you can see on the screen is that more than 85% of software professionals are projected to use GenAI tools, whether it's embedded into existing tools or some various types of platform, truly transforming software quality engineering approach into much more AI-powered, GenAI-powered strategies. So there's really a seismic shift in the way we approach software engineering in QA, and again, with continuous feedback and real-time insight at the core of this evolution.
Right. So, but if we consider the artificial intelligence holistically, right, there are different layers of artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence, when we talk in its core format, then it mimics human intelligence through interpretable functions. Machine layer, which is the second layer, it is designed to improve learning from experience and observation. Deep learning is all about neural networks and the derive and how it derives insights from the data. Generative AI, it generates the multimodal content that mimics human creativity, and the large language model, which generates human-like text, documents, videos by learning pattern from the massive data sets.
So now the key question from this is, in especially software quality engineering and testing, our main focus is on using this technology. Okay, so if we have a look at what we've been using, and if you include all the things that Chaitali was just mentioning, apart from the red sort of circle, we've actually been using all forms of AI for quite some time. I think probably in the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of highly technical use cases, analytical tasks already being addressed by AI. So AI in software testing is certainly not new. Things like digital twin, complex object detection, visual AI, visual recognition, self-healing scripts, predictive metrics, prescriptive metrics, synthetic data generation. So there's a lot of different use cases that we actually captured in a huge report, and I'm happy to share again the link on the screens. It's more than a 55 chapter research work on the AI for QE, which was actually dated in 2021-2022 as evidence that us in testing as an industry, we've truly been using it. So it's not a new thing. What is new for us is, what about also using the natural language driven task? All the things that are addressable as tasks, as activities via LLMs. Now the key question is not just about technology, but how can we not generate content, but generate true value for us in our daily task? So I would say if we go through a very simple flow, and I know this diagram on the screen is quite simplistic, but there's a point behind it. So all in all, it all starts with prompts. Everybody here on the audience has started with prompts, the instructions we give to the system. However, if we lack precision, if we like making our implicit knowledge explicit, then we're not going to get the right response from the system. And then there's things as well on the input file. We might actually overload the system with very complex input. And I've seen with experiment consultants trying to give a 30-page document, hoping that a model, however powerful it may be, generates high-level quality requirement, and it's just very, very difficult to make it today. And there's also tons of additional issues that we can unveil on the prompt side, which is the reusability of prompts, and also having prompts that are very endless. And I think in the past 2 years, we've been really about seeing hallucinations of systems of models. And now we are also at the verge of seeing hallucinations on the human side, human expecting outstanding results from models in terms of the ability to reason. But it's not really the case yet, especially for the use case that we have. And also models have their own limits. They're not all the same. They have different performance. They have different context windows limits, and the cost is not the same, right? And unfortunately, which is pretty much expected, the most powerful LLMs actually have the one with the greater cost, not a surprise. And at the end of the spectrum, we also have potential issues on the output. We are generating tons and tons and tons of output, which can be extremely extensive in terms of volume, in terms of number of versions we have to deal with, and the time it takes us to consume the output. And overall, I would say the last fundamental issues that obviously a lot of us are having an eye on is data privacy. So while all in all, this can provide issues, we really have to make sure that the use of generative AI, and especially the large language models, has to comply with enterprise level requirements, and also in the future think about the integration, the integratability of all the things that we're trying to do for the large language model. Okay, so I think now is, do we have an answer? How to deal with that? How to focus on generating true value? Chaitali?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And how do we address those challenges to generate value is by actually refining all those inputs that you've just said. So you spoke about prompts, Antoine. The challenges with prompts can be handled. We are right. Engineering techniques, so prompt engineering techniques are important. Having clear, constrained instructions, step-by-step guidance, and conditional logic. Now, continuous prompt refinement is also key. So for the inputs that you've spoken about, prioritizing relevant data is key, which requires human judgment, knowing which parts of the data truly matters, and simplifying the input without losing context. So if you're on context, context is definitely the glue that holds everything together. LLM specifically rely on a constant stream of relevant context, which must be thoughtfully structured, updated, and monitored to keep things very relevant. So large language models basically processes all of this information to generate relevant output. However, post-processing filters are required to refine the output, make it truly actionable. And things don't stop here. There is a need of continuous feedback loops, continuous cycles of testing, analyzing performance, and optimizing everything like, quality and cost. So all of this sounds very complex. However, unlocking the productivity gains with LLMs demands deep expertise in prompt engineering, data management, context building, and constant refinement. Without the skills, the right expertise, and the systems, we will keep on encountering such inefficiencies, misinformation, and costly errors. Antoine.
Yeah, and to illustrate it a little bit further, we wanted to share an example of a use case that we are seeing in our practice. Okay, so let's assume we have an input. Okay, we are an insurance company and we have implemented a loan application process. Okay, anybody who's minor, so below 18 years old, will get a refusal, all right? Refusal standard loan is only approved for people between 18 and 55. And if you are above 55, unfortunately, you're not admitted in the standard loan, and it's a little bit more expensive. Okay. Now, from a testing perspective, I would like to generate test cases applying what I call 4-value boundary value analysis, not just 2. And I wanted to get it as a table and with no further explanations, because otherwise models tends to explain to me my job. Okay, so what I'm expecting actually is, when I talk about four values, is around each boundary to get these types of data. So 16, 17, 18, 19 for the first boundary, and 45, 55, 56, 57 for the second one. Okay, so we might have fluctuations with the 16 and 57, which is fine, but you get the point. Okay, so now what we've done with a single prompt is verified. We use model 1. Model 1 returned a two-value boundary. Okay, so basically just 17 and 18 and 55, 56, which is okay from a boundary perspective, but it's not what we asked for. We asked for specifically four-value BVA. And we tried on a second model. The second model was a little bit better, but only gave us three-value boundary. And then we tried on a third one. The third one gave us four-value boundary, but one of the test cases were not in par with the expectations. And finally, we actually had one which, with the current training that it has, actually gave us a four-value boundary. Obviously, it misses the test basis, the elements, to enrich it a little bit further. The complexity here is to get value, you need actually to understand what you are asking for. So here I've asked for four-value boundary value analysis, but I must be, as a tester, empowered to understand and challenge the result that I'm saying. Because we could potentially say, if we are not in the know-how, say, well, this is four value because I'm getting four test cases, and it's actually a smoke mirror. These models, the results that we're getting on the screens, actually were, and I put it on the screen here, we generated the prompt and the input 10 times on each model. So here, this is not just a one-shot output, it's 80% of the output were the one that I'm sharing on the screen here. Obviously, we know there's evolution in terms of their ability to comply with instruction, their ability to reason, their ability to be further trained with testing. But you understand, I think the point here is that with a simple prompt and an input, it's not enough to derive high quality. So here we are staying at the prompt level. Okay, so this is what a lot of people are going through. They tried, as I just did now, a 10-word prompt, and they can be deception in terms of quality, just time. In fact, it's really fast to prompt, very low cost. And then we went through a whole experiment as we are adding words, the quality and the time improved, so was the cost of it. And then we increase it and more research. And finally, with extremely well-crafted prompts, well-designed prompts made by software testers, we were able to generate good enough quality. And this is, I think, what we must aim at with the models. It's potentially 80% good enough quality that is almost perfect. And there's always, we must be sure that there's always a bit of time, and we must accept that the remaining 20% may not always be there. Okay, so this is very challenging. So now the question is, well, I am a quality engineer. I do not want to spend all my time on prompts. I do not want to spend my time building a knowledge system where I can provide more context. I do not want to deal with understanding how the model works. I'm in quality engineering testing. I do not want to handle all the data privacy aspects, all the security level aspects. I just want to make use of generative AI in my daily activities, right? So now the question, Chaitali, for us is, what if we could abstract all the complexity around using large language models and only focus on the true work, which is for us the work on input and assessing the output so we can truly amplify the work that we're doing.
Right. And that is where we have our solution, the generative AI amplifier. Now, what is generative AI amplifier? So it is our homegrown accelerator of services designed to enhance and scale our software and quality engineering capabilities. Unlike the traditional software that is sold as a licensed product, Amplifier is embedded within our services offerings that helps our team to improve the productivity, reduce manual efforts, achieve better coverage, and ensure higher quality across projects. So, if we can say Amplifier is a no prompt, low prompt solution, very well integrated with the retrieval augmented generation, also called as RAG, which acts as a knowledge hub that can be leveraged by different or cross functional teams across software engineering processes. With its 60 plus ready to use cases or scenarios, our team can drive efficiency right out of box. It also has bring your own use cases feature, eliminating the need for extensive prompt libraries. Now, if we talk about the deployment models, Amplifier offers flexible deployment options. First, either hosted by Sogeti or on client's own tenant, ensuring that the client has full control needed to fit it into its business. Amplifier is fortified with enterprise grade security, featuring data privacy guardrails, something that you spoke, Antoine, authentication, authorization, cost control that ensures the client's operations are protected at every level. Now, what you see on the screen on the left side are the features that are embedded in Amplifier with the whole intent to achieve speed with quality.
Yeah, and so I think these words were actually very spot on. The idea again is how can we really truly focus on our core activities and making it really easy for software testers, engineers to do their homework and use generative AI and make it really easy. I specifically like your low prompt, no prompt. It reminds me of low code, no code, and maybe that's going to be the future where all these layer of prompting, which was regarded last year as a new role like prompt engineers. Now it's more like regarding as a skills itself, right? But what if we can actually abstract even that element? Again, focus on generating test cases and things that we want to do. And that being said,
Right.
actually, we want to express what are the use cases that we have embedded in this Amplifier platform. All right. So if we have a step back of the software lifecycle, 30% is, let's say, code related. 70% of the software lifecycle tasks are unrelated to code. So we believe with experiment that at least 60% of this 70% can be addressed with an amplified, accelerated with the use of generative AI here. So if we have now an eye on quality engineering and testing, one of the most painful issues that we have to deal with is actually the incoming upstream document that we are relying on to do our homework. And usually this is coming from the lack of clear requirements, proper designed user stories. So we thought maybe one of the key elements that we have to deal with is actually focused on this upstream task, all these assets that are coming to us before we actually do the work. So we focused on expediting requirement creation, focused on all types of activities around requirements, which you can see on the screen here, from the creation of requirements to user story, then into design, then into development. And then the main focus still remains for us truly quality engineering and testing. So we have different ways of generating test cases. We are focusing on ERP testing, starting with SAP testing, and we're also addressing test automation testing, whether it's for Selenium, Catalan, Cypress, Robot Framework, Appium with mobile testing, JMeter, follow testing, including our synthetic test data, and more. We're actually also expanding the broad capabilities that we have through a brand new feature that we have developed for the benefits of the users, which is called Bring Your Own Use Case, which will, in a sense, anybody can actually bring their own tasks, their own problems, and deploy it on the platform, making it limitless. So now let's make it a bit of a pause of slides. Let's have an eye on the demo itself. Okay, so I will shift slide. Okay, I am now on Chrome. As you can see here, I've prepped a few things, and I will actually sign in as I am a user. So there's always some users words. It's a bit boring for end users, but it's truly making sure they understand that they're dealing with a model in the back. So now I will authenticate myself. Again, this is where we've made sure that we are security compliant. Okay, so let me take my mobile phone. All right, it will recognize me and I will log in the system. Okay, all right, yes, I will stay connected and I will enter the system in a few seconds. Right. Here you are. It verifies the network, the database connection, storage connection, and here I've got ability to either connect as an admin user or an end user. What Chaitali was sharing, we have an admin console where, well, actually, I can actually show it a little bit later, where we can control the cost of using generative AI. We can have different abilities for users. Make sure that a user can access to a project, to a team, or vice versa, right? So now as a user, I will connect to the one I have access to, okay, when this is done. So here I am, in a matter of seconds, I am in my main interface. Okay, so what you can see here on the left-hand side is actually the transposition of the slides that we shared earlier on the whole features that we have embedded into it as menu, okay? So here I will start with a requirement creation, okay? And here are the main interface that I'm being offered. So first, we can connect to almost any model, okay? So here I've got the main models here, with O1 also coming up in a few days, okay? So let's say I will connect on this one, and here I am willing to create a requirement. So we've included some do's and don'ts in the system, really again to make sure the user truly understand how best to use generative AI and things that they have to do, especially not overloading the system. Okay, so here I can upload a specific file. Okay, let me take one. All right, I'll take a transcript. Okay, so let's imagine that I have a transcript which is based on the discussion that 3 of my team members had, okay? And you can see here, all right, it's not too long, but okay. And in the center, I can see they are discussing processes. They are discussing planned account documents, like blocking stuff. Okay, so if I had to do it manually, it would take me some time to do it, right? And with potentially errors. So here we are saying, okay, we have the transcript document. Okay, I will select the tone I want. Let's say I want my audience of these requirement documents to be the business analyst. Okay, what are the types of requirements that I'm looking to get, right? And here again, behind it, there's either a prompt or series of prompts, potentially with code behind it, that truly eliminates the need for the business analyst or the project owner to prompt and to know how to craft it. And all the instructions in the back were truly done by requirement engineers. Okay, so potentially here I can ask, well, I want to contextualize my request further. Okay, right. So this is where Chaitali mentioned earlier today. We have a knowledge system called RAG that allows the user to really further contextualize the request. Okay, so all right, so let's assume that here I don't have any, and I will generate it. Okay, so we know that there's a bit of a delay with using generative AI. It's not like a deterministic system that straight away provides the response. So I have actually pre-run this in another tab here. So I'll come back to you to show you that it truly works. Okay, so it's the same one. There's the same flow here. And here you can see I've included a document in the right system. I've also added some user-specific behavior, things that I want the model to clearly have an eye on. Okay, so I will share with you, this is a type of output that is generated. Okay, obviously the human expert in the loop must happen. We must have the expert really having an eye on it. We've made sure that the instructions behind it are good enough to again generate 80% very high quality output. And you have again specifically things that were made in the instructions by requirement engineers to make sure that it truly provides value. Okay, now we have the time it took. Okay, I can actually go back to the previous one, see if it was generated. Okay, so I've got similar one. Okay, all right, and the cost was a little bit lower. But in average for this type of request, we are saying that the API through OpenAI Azure, which is the case here, takes between 30 seconds to 50 seconds, right? So sometimes during experiment, we have people say, oh, I want to have it now. But the thing is, if we take a step back, to create this sort of requirements will not take us 30 seconds. It might take us sometimes a few hours to make sure that we are digesting all the transcript in the right way. Okay, so we are putting things that could be interesting also for the persons monitoring it, the cost. Okay, now the second thing is, as we were sharing earlier, one of the things, what if I'm not aligned with one of the input? Okay, and this is where here we have the ability to reiterate on the version of the output that was given to us. Okay, so here again, I've already prepped it. Okay, so this is an example of output that I got, and as reiterate, I said, well, I am working from a global company, and these requirements must also be shared with my team based out of Japan. Okay, so I said in my output here, translate the output in Japan, in Japanese. So it makes sense, okay? And it might be the case that what you want to reiterate on is, requirement number 3 is incorrect. You missed this requirement, or the way the requirements were numbered is incorrect as well. So there's almost no limit in terms of iteration that you can have with the models. Okay, so this is the first step. It's creating requirements. Then if we go here, I'm now in ambiguity analysis. Let's say I have my requirement that I got just from the previous step. And now I said, well, okay, I want to assess that the clarity of these requirements. So here in the back, we have, again, a prompt or several prompts or code. It depends on the use case. That allows us to verify the ambiguity of existing requirements or the one requirement that we just created. And I can actually add specific aspects that I want the models to have an eye on, okay? And we've added things like industry scores here, like getting fog index, okay. Now I want to go in a next one. Okay, so I am now happy. I've transformed my requirement into user story, which is a step I've not shown you on the screens, but you understand the capabilities. And let's assume now that I want to generate test cases. Well, okay, then here I have an input file. So I click on the little I here, right? And I have one user story, right? And I want to generate valid or positive test cases for this specific user story. Okay, so I have this table which was generated. Okay, so I've got 6 test cases, all focused on valid or positive test cases, however you want to frame it. There's also happy pass as a word. Okay, so here it took 60 seconds and the price was relatively low to generate this set of test cases. Okay, right? So now it's actually interesting. This is what I call the common test cases. I can also generate invalid test cases, which I've also pre-run for you guys. And here, this is the same type of output, but truly here only focused on generated negative invalid test cases. Okay, so as a result, I don't have to take it for granted, but I can be assured that what is on the screen actually was previously cautiously designed in terms of instructions to make sure that we are generating high value output. Okay. Now, if we are, yes, Chaitali, you want to say something?
Yes. I wanted to add here. So a few points that I've noted here and something I always like explaining. So while you have shown a story, right, Antoine, where the requirements are created from the transcripts, then it is analyzed, and we can also create user stories from the requirements, then the test cases, and definitely there are automation scripts that can be generated for the open source tools. Then we have mobile automation scripts that can be generated, even the performance scripts for API. So all of these features are available in generative AI amplifier. But while these are connected stories, they are mutually exclusive stories. So what it means is, if you have a very well documented user story, then you need not go from step one. You can directly go to the test case generation use case and upload the story and generate the test cases. Similarly, if the test cases are very well written, then you can generate the automation scripts by just providing the test cases and input. That is one point. And secondly, when you spoke about the price, Anton, and also, in fact, the time, very interesting, because while we see that it is generating in seconds, but as you always say, the output is as good as input, right? So at times what we have observed is, and that is coming from our experiences, we have observed is the input is not really well defined or refined, and that is when the efforts of our SMEs is being invested to refine the input so that we get quality output and a better coverage.
Yeah,
So those were a few points.
absolutely, and it all makes sense. Um, Potentially, in terms of the last use cases that I want to share, the way we can generate test cases actually is twofold. The first one is you are using what I called common generic testing. So you want to generate the most common test cases, but if you are expert in software testing, you can also use what we call coverage-based testing, which relies on the use of advanced techniques. So what we have added here on the screen is I've uploaded a user story, which is a password user stories with acceptance criteria and several scenarios, up to 6. And here I'm providing the test basis, which is my context. Is there a high risk? Is there a medium or low risk about some of the aspects of that user stories? And based on all of this context, we can actually provide recommendation in terms of what are the techniques you should be using to enhance the coverage of your testing activities while minimizing your test effort. So here you can see coverage is structured in terms of 4 groups: process, conditions, data, and appearance. And here we are providing recommendations for each one of them. So let's say if I want to go in process cycle test, I start here. This is a 4-step process. And the idea is that with extremely well-engineered prompts and code, we can actually generate all the logical test cases. This is extremely interesting for process cycle test, also called PAS testing, for SAP testing, Salesforce testing, ServiceNow testing, which are extremely dependent on user flows. So in a matter of a few seconds, I can take an input flow as a requirement and generate the optimized test cases for flow. Okay, so this is very impressive. And as you were sharing, Chaitali, and the last one is we can also generate baseline for automation scripts and JMeter with the ability to challenge the output. But this is definitely an accelerator. So now let's probably stop here, and I want to go back to what we've learned from all of it. Okay, and I think, Chaitali, you really started and you were spot on. The one thing that I potentially would like to share is that using generative AI requires even more expertise on the human being. So we are seeing webinars and content are about human in the loop. I would say even more, it's expert in the loop to properly use generative AI.
Definitely. Yes, yes, Anton. So, with our experiences so far, we know that our customers are really forward thinking and they definitely truly recognize the transformative potential of generative AI. uh, be it user story generation or code conversion, data generation, the test case generation, performance script generation. So what we have noticed is, or what we have observed is, these are the preferred use cases that our customers are looking for. And what we have also realized is they want generative AI to automate the repetitive task and reduce their technical debts. So, our observations, if we speak about it, uh, it, in fact, our experience is both enlightening and promising, and generative AI amplifies a range of benefits. With one of our implementations, the amplifier has resulted into around 30% of effort savings for our automation script generation and around 60%, which is huge, of effort saving in the test authoring process. So what it means is we are observing a generative AI amplifier has significantly reduced the time required for routine tasks, and this efficiency allows our team to focus on more strategic initiatives.
That's a very wise words here, Chaitali. And I will
Yeah.
finish with so we know that the benefits of using generative AI is huge. It's very substantial, but the deployment of and the use of generative AI, it does not go without challenging. So we need to think about holistically about integrating generative AI, abstracting the complex layers, and really truly making sure we are laser focused on making it simple for the quality engineers to generate value. So the most important challenge that lies in front of us is not actually technology, it's potentially just skills. We must make sure that we are on top of our game, on top of our expertise, on top of our knowledge to make even greater use of generative AI. So this is huge, and we are, I think, as an industry, all of us very much committing to leveraging generative AI to its full extent, really focused again on generating value. Thank you very much.